So, did you know that Justin Trudeau is not just any prime minister? He's the first to be the child of a previous prime minister.
That's right. His father was Pierre Trudeau, who
Yeah,
was also a significant political figure in Canada.
exactly. And Justin was actually born on Christmas Day in 1971. Can
No
you imagine
way!
sharing your birthday with Christmas?
That must have made for some interesting birthday parties growing up.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of growing up, he lived at 24 Sussex Drive, the official residence of Canada's Prime Minister, during his early years. So politics has always been a part of his life.
It seems like he was destined for it. But didn't he have other careers before entering politics?
Yes, he did. He actually graduated from McGill University with a degree in literature, and then got a
Right.
Bachelor of Education from the University of British Columbia.
So he was a teacher before?
Exactly. He taught French and math at a secondary school in Vancouver.
Interesting.
He was really passionate about education and youth issues.
You know, that probably explains his approach to politics, focusing a lot on youth and education.
Definitely. And in 2008, he decided to run for parliament and was elected in the riding of Papineau. It's one of the
That's
smallest
impressive.
and most diverse ridings in Canada.
He must have connected well with the constituents there.
He did. And then, in 2013, he became the leader of the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
He brought a lot of energy and a fresh perspective to the party.
And that led to the big victory in 2015, right?
Exactly. The Liberals went from third place to winning a majority government. That's a
Wow.
huge turnaround.
It really shows how his leadership resonated with Canadians.
For sure. And during his tenure, he's focused on progressive policies like legalizing recreational cannabis,
Right.
introducing the Canada Child Benefit, and advocating for gender equality.
Speaking of gender equality, didn't he form a cabinet with equal numbers of men and women?
Yes, he did. When asked why, he simply said, because it's 2015. It was a
That's
powerful
memorable.
statement on modern leadership.
But his time in office hasn't been without controversies, though.
True. There have been some challenges, like the SNC Lavalin affair, where questions were raised about political interference in a legal matter.
And he was found to have violated conflict of interest rules, right?
Yes, the Ethics Commissioner concluded that he had breached the Conflict of Interest Act. It
I
was a
see.
significant moment that tested his government's transparency.
It's important for leaders to be held accountable.
Absolutely. And then there was the blackface scandal during the 2019 election campaign.
Right.
That raised a lot of questions about cultural sensitivity and judgment.
He apologized for it, but it definitely impacted his image.
It did. But despite these issues, he was re-elected in 2019, albeit with a minority government.
Yeah.
It showed that while support had dipped, many Canadians still trusted him to lead.
And how did he handle the COVID-19 pandemic?
His government implemented various support programs like the Canada Emergency Response Benefit and provided financial aid to individuals and businesses affected by the pandemic.
Those programs were crucial for many Canadians during that time.
Definitely. And in 2021, he called another election, resulting in a similar outcome with another minority government.
That's right.
It seems Canadians were still split in their support.
Do you think his agenda has shifted since then?
Well, he's continued to focus on issues like climate change, introducing policies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
He's aiming for net zero emissions by 2050.
That's an ambitious goal.
It is. And there have been efforts to address reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, though progress has been both praised and criticized. It's a complex
can
and
imagine.
sensitive issue.
You mentioned climate change earlier. Has he faced challenges balancing environmental concerns with economic interests?
Absolutely. The approval of pipelines like the Trans Mountain expansion has been controversial.
Right.
Environmentalists have been critical, saying it contradicts his climate goals.
So he's trying to find a middle ground between economic development and environmental protection?
Exactly. It's a delicate balance, and not everyone agrees on how it's being handled.
Yeah.
It's one of the challenges of leadership.
Speaking of challenges, how has he dealt with foreign relations?
Well, relations with countries like China have been strained, especially after the detention of Meng Wanzhou and the subsequent detention of 2 Canadians in China.
That's tough.
It was a tense diplomatic situation.
And what about relations with the U.S.?
Under President Trump, there were challenges, especially regarding trade agreements like NAFTA, which led to the new USMCA. But relations have improved under President Biden.
It's interesting how international politics can impact domestic policies.
Definitely. Trudeau's leadership has been about navigating both domestic and international landscapes.
Yeah.
It's a complex role with many facets.
You know, some people critique him for focusing too much on image. What do you think about that?
Well, he does have a charismatic presence, and while image is part of politics, it's important to back it up with substance.
So, would you say he's been effective in his policies?
In some areas, yes. He's made strides in social policies and has kept Canada prominent on the world stage.
I see.
But like any leader, he has his critics and hasn't fulfilled all promises.
That's fair. Leadership is never without its hurdles.
Exactly. And as Canada moves forward, it will be interesting to see how his legacy unfolds.
Absolutely.
Only time will tell.
Well, this has been a fascinating discussion about Justin Trudeau's journey.
It really has. He's definitely a significant figure in modern Canadian history.
Thanks for sharing all these insights.
My pleasure. Always great to dive into such an interesting topic.